The following passage is from Neverwake, a collection of 4 short fantasy sci-fi stories written and narrated by the author Kira Cul'tofay. This audio excerpt is specifically from story number 1, Passing Back, Geranda's Tale. The Geranda Valley had everything: old castles, forests, mountains, and streams. The guys had decided to stay in town last night, while Hannah had camped out near a large river. She could hear its rushing flow behind her. Turning, she glanced up into the warm, filtered sunlight and smiled. The gray-blue water sparkled out of the corner of her eye, and she looked toward the inviting river. After taking 5 steps, she noticed some mushrooms growing in a shady spot near an old pine. There was an interesting glimmer to them, as if the nearby water had misted their rounded caps. Hannah lifted her camera and took aim. Through the viewfinder, she caught a strange, wavering image. Quickly, she pulled the camera away and scoped the scene with her naked eyes. Everything appeared normal, so she stepped closer to the mushrooms. Peering through the camera again, she noticed the blurry image. This time, it almost seemed to be another exposure, like a shot of a different place was ghosted over her shot. Hannah spun around. She half expected to see the view behind her was refracted off mist from the river, but instead she saw nothing that resembled the camera mirage. Shrugging to herself, she stepped directly into the mushroom ring to have a better look. Glancing up, she was blinded by a pale rainbow of colors that cascaded down from the sky. She raised her arm to block out the sun, and suddenly noticed the sound from the river had gone. Moving her arm back to her side, she was dumbfounded by an entirely new sight. "Far out," Hannah whispered. Spinning around to take in the view, she dropped her camera to the ground. It landed softly with an almost inaudible thud. She now stood in a field of tall spring grass. The emerald green blades waved in a breeze so crisp that it brought a chill to her body. The Spanish haze was replaced by a crystal blue sky and bright golden sun. Cottonwood fluff blew so thickly across the nearby dirt road, it looked like herds of tiny sheep. The wind picked up briefly and tossed the air with white tufts. For a moment it was dreamlike, as if Hannah was caught in some sort of springtime snow globe. She smiled peacefully. There was very little fear, considering the amazing changes that had occurred. It was as if everything was in perfect harmony.
"Why, oh why, are you so near the road, my friend?"
asked a male voice from behind Hannah. The woman turned quickly to find a young man standing in the tall grass. He glanced up and away nervously. His blue eyes rested on the sky for a moment before he peeked back to see if Hannah was still looking at him. When he saw that she was, he grinned speedily and then looked away again. Hannah took a few seconds to check out the quirky fellow. He was marginally taller than her, roughly 5'8", with a stocky, outdoorsy build. His clothes were strange. Knee-high pants, a loose-fitting shirt with 3 buttons down from the collar, and leather wristbands. Everything was brown, gray, and wine-colored. His skin was nicely tanned, and he was handsome, with a strong nose. He had the most captivating, boundless blue spring sky eyes. Hannah paused on his brown pageboy hair. She thought it looked like something from a bygone era, and it was rather wild. It was at that moment she noticed his tall, pointed ears. She rushed directly over to him and inspected them closely. "What are you?" Hannah asked. The man relaxed and gave a loving smile, then suddenly became nervous again. As Hannah watched, his expressions changed while he thought.
"Human?"
he finally answered. After a brief pause, he continued.
"Like you. Only difference is the length of time here in Fairy."
His eyes skittered around again.
"You will change too,"
he exclaimed. "Fairy world?" cooed Hannah. "Neat." The young man scratched his head and then became calm once again.
"We should leave sight of the road?"
he said, almost asking.
"If you trust to follow me, it has not been very safe lately."